In 1499, Alonso de Ojeda, a former officer of Christopher Columbus, discovered Curaçao. At that time, the island was inhabited by only about 1,500 Arawak Indians who came from the coastal regions of Venezuela, presumably 2,000 years before Christ. These original inhabitants were displaced, many of them to Hispaniola. In 1634, Spanish colonialism ends, and the Dutch take over the island. In the following years, Curaçao develops to become a main market for the slave trade. Slaves are sold to plantation owners throughout the Caribbean. Today, the Spanish come as friends and are welcomed with all military honors by the governor of the Dutch Antilles. Visitors arrive today mainly at Hato, the international airport of the island. There are various connecting flights from Hato to South America, the USA, Europe, and many other Caribbean islands. The first stop is usually Willemstad, the capital of Curaçao, recognized in 1997 by UNESCO and awarded with a World Cultural Heritage designation. A picturesque, small but pulsating metropolis where one can literally feel the eventful past of this town. Willemstad is located strategically on Santa Ana Bay, a natural harbor which had to be defended by the Netherlands for over hundreds of years from recurring attacks from the French, English, and also pirates. Although Willemstad is in the Caribbean, it sometimes feels as if one is in certain parts of Europe, mainly due to the influence of Dutch architecture. Curaçao offers indeed European standard to its visitors, which isn't the case in many other Caribbean islands. Curaçao offers the highest standard of personal security, low criminality, a good functioning municipality, and drinking water of excellent quality and taste. Curaçao is a multicultural society in the truest sense of the word. The inhabitants of the island stem from over 40 different nations, and the majority of the nationals stem from slaves. There are no conflicts between the various religions. Muslims, Christians, and Jews, all present in large numbers, live peacefully together and without conflict. They are also particularly gifted with languages, and it's not a rarity to be able to speak 4 languages. Although Dutch is the official language, Papiamento is mostly spoken, which is derived from the influx of many languages, and the islanders are very proud of it. You can begin your walk in the Punda Quarter by visiting the cozy sidewalk cafes at Wilhelmina Square. These internet cafes make it easy to connect with loved ones at home and to answer your accumulated emails. All objects of interest in Punda are within not more than 10 minutes walking distance, including the tourism office. Across the courtyard of the Fort Amsterdam, you can find the Fort Church. Its first service was ministered in 1769, and in its outer wall, if you look very closely, you can see a cannonball. No one less than the dreadful Captain Bligh opened fire on Willemstad from his infamous bounty in 1804. It is very important to look up while walking through Punda. The many shops at ground level usually distract visitors from the old, magnificent buildings of the Dutch colonial times. Not far from the old town is the Maritime Museum, a place that gives you all the information about the importance of navigation for Curaçao throughout the centuries, and it also organizes sightseeing and harbor tours. A visit to this museum is definitely worth it to learn about the exciting history of the island and navigation. Nowadays, one can hardly imagine the difficulty of an old seaman's life at that time. The ships weren't so easy to navigate. If the captain would miss the entrance to Santa Ana Bay due to adverse weather conditions, he would have to sail on to Jamaica. Only then would he be able to turn back, after a 2-week delay. Just imagine the disappointment of the islanders, anxiously awaiting the ship with supplies and observing it sailing away without even anchoring. The floating market is located just in front of the Maritime Museum. Fishermen and merchants from Venezuela, which is only about 35 miles away, supply the island with fish, fruits, and vegetables. Prices used to be cheap in the past, but have now almost reached the level of the supermarkets. However, it is still possible to get good prices if you're prepared to bargain. Eating at Marché, the old market, is great value. For about $7, you can get a decent, tasty lunch, practically enough for 2 people. There's a big choice of dishes and local food is available. It is a bit crowded at midday, but it's a bargain in comparison to the European prices found at most other places. At the other side of Santa Ana Bay is the Otra Banda quarter, which literally means other side. This quarter was first inhabited in 1707. The harbor for the large cruise ships is situated here. You can cross over to Otra Banda via the Emma Bridge, a pontoon bridge. If the bridge is opened for incoming ships, 2 ferries transport tourists and natives free of charge to the other side. Old buildings harmonize with new in Otra Banda, such as this administration building, this small medical university, and this hotel. However, the main attraction of this quarter is the Hotel Curaçao. What looks like a little European village is in reality one of the unique hotels of the world. A peculiar village, carefully restored according to a concept of Jacob Helpdecker. Indeed, this hotel has much more to offer than fancy accommodation. Art, history, and culture play an important role in the concept of Helpdecker. At the Sculpture Garden, you can admire Shuna art from Zimbabwe and visit the Museum Curaçao. This museum is one of a kind and hosts the largest collection of African art in the Caribbean. This part of the exposition is dedicated to the art and culture of West African kingdoms. Another highlight of the museum is the Black Holocaust, the history of slavery and slave trade. The Netherlands play a special role here since they were one of the last nations to abolish slavery in 1863. And we should not forget that many African leaders sold their own folk to slavery. Both expositions are just a small part of the collection that Museum Curaçao has to offer its visitors. It is indeed a surprise to find such a precious museum on an island with only 138,000 legal inhabitants. The metropolitan area of Willemstad embraces not only the Punda and Otrabanda quarters, but much more. It is a modern city with many shopping alternatives, clearly demonstrated by a high quality of life. Curaçao does not belong to the Third World, thanks to its affiliation with the Kingdom of the Netherlands. There are, however, parts of the island where people do live below the poverty line. The need to import practically everything makes the living costs very high. Soft drinks in particular are expensive, even those which are produced on the island, which is hard to understand. The supermarkets offer products of excellent quality and a large selection of food. Meat is considerably cheaper than in Europe, and self-catering tourists can save a lot. Supermarkets have plenty of personnel, meaning that you don't have to wait too long at the cash register. As in the US, there are workers packing the food and taking it to your car, a rather comfortable service. And one should not forget the tip. The high prices are an issue for the poorer people on the island, since many families live below the poverty line, and the salaries are also comparatively low. Electricity and water prices are notably high. This is the reason why many still live in the little picturesque historical kunuku houses, which are a beloved photography object for tourists. The public transport system used by those who can't afford a car works well and isn't too expensive. In Curaçao, traffic drives on the right-hand side, a rather mild form of Caribbean driving, opposite to the other chaotic places in the Caribbean. The traffic here is easygoing, similar to the north of Europe. Traffic converges with ease and refueling is more economical than Europe, with diesel and gas being reasonably priced. Curaçao has always been a transshipment center for all types of goods. There are sea connections with the entire world. Tax laws and free trade zones stimulate many companies to settle in Curaçao. For companies adopting Curaçao as their headquarters to export their goods to the world, tax rates are just 2%. 75% of the revenues must be achieved outside of the Netherlands Antilles. Free trade zones are spread all around the island, including the harbor area. The company Linden manages, with international expertise, a great part of the free zone on Curaçao. Well-known consulting corporations are present on the island on account of the interesting opportunities for investors and because of those tax laws. Cruise tourism is another main pillar of the economy in Curaçao. More than 150 cruise ships from all over the world dock in the harbor every year, many on a regular basis. Those who only spend a day on the island are spoiled for choice. There is too much to see and discover, and this can't be done in a single day. Many tourism companies on the island, however, have perfected their organized schedules to adapt to every need. Tabor Tours, for example, offers an enjoyable and interesting cultural program at the Luna Blau Theater. For those who are expecting fun, action, and adventure, Curaçao has something for everyone. We now join a jeep safari tour at the rough north coast of the island, a route which tourists rarely get the opportunity of experiencing unless they rent an off-road vehicle and are street smart. We arrive at the Landhaus Dokterstein, which is a private property, but like many other landhouses, is open to visitors. An important fact about the landhouses is that they were built in a way to get direct visibility to other landhouses, to make communication between them easier and faster in case of an emergency. For instance, we can see from here the Landhaus Ascension, a farm built in the year 1672. Ascension has a rich history with many anecdotes. Jean Martin, one of the black supervisors of the slaves, was notably cruel to his subordinates. All of them feared him. So when he died, he was buried within the range of vision in order to keep watching over Ascension. The natives are still afraid of him today, and his grave is treated with great respect. Actually, nobody needs to fear him now, however, as the Dutch Marines use Ascension as a training center, and it is now safer than ever. Needless to say, you can visit this stylishly decorated landhouse as well. Every first Sunday of the month, Ascension is open to the public, and you can enjoy live music, typical dishes, and a little art and flea market. A nice meeting point for all ages. Boca Ascension is very close to the Landhaus. This picturesque bay is one of the most interesting places for nature lovers in Curaçao. Here we meet a team from Unique Curaçao at Boca Ascension. The co-workers are marking a new hiking trail at this moment and checking the access to it. This organization is in charge of promoting the ecological tourism on the island. Unique Curaçao does not receive governmental support and is dependent on donations. The co-workers are mostly volunteers who come to Curaçao to offer support for a period of months. Unique Curaçao believes that environmental conscience can only be strengthened if you raise the interest of tourists and natives to the exceptional beauty of Curaçao's nature. Much of this beauty has not yet been discovered, and even a great part of the natives don't know their island completely. The engagement of Unique Curaçao is very important to the island, since the environmental consciousness still needs to be further developed. If the new trail turns out to be good, it will be included on the many tours offered to tourists by Unique Curaçao. The rough north coast of the island has a fascinating view to offer, and like several places in Curaçao, you will only meet a few other tourists. With a length of approximately 45 miles, Curaçao is large enough not to be too crowded, and there is no mass tourism. After a 2-hour walk, we arrive at the north coast. Boca is the Papiamento term for bay. Boca Ascension is a very special feature of the island. If you take your time and are patient enough, you can often observe the sea turtles. An encounter with these ancient creatures is the highlight of this tour and attracts many tourists. Unique Curaçao counts on the success of these tours, as they can't maintain the organization through idealism alone. We walk back to our off-road vehicle, exhausted, but with a feeling of being one of the first to experience something very special of Curaçao's nature. Our next destination is Cristofel Park, another scenic high spot of Curaçao. The park was inaugurated in 1978 and is the largest on the island. Most of its roads are in good condition, adding to a pleasurable visit. The Landhaus Savonette is the center of Cristofel Park and is the second oldest on the island. There is a visitor's office and a snack bar for the hungry and the thirsty. You can also get a closer look at the native birds, which have already discovered this inexpensive food source and take full advantage of it. At the southern part of the park, you can visit the ruins of the Landhaus Zorgvliet, which means without worries. It became a ruin after 1832, when both farms, Savonette and Zorgvliet, were joined together. A bit further along, you can still see a slave pillar. You can also observe the fauna of the park down at the Cristofel Mountain, hummingbirds drinking the nectar of flowers. The whiptail lizard, named Blau Blau by the natives, is the most common animal here. As soon as it reaches sexual maturity, its gender will be defined. It might become an imposing male with turquoise spots, or a brown-grayish female. The most impressive animal of Curaçao is the green iguana. It is often found even in populated areas, being frequently run over by cars or being captured. It's a local delicacy for the natives who make soup from it. Iguanas can reach the length of over 6 feet, but unfortunately such large specimens can't be found here anymore. It is time to put this animal under protection before it becomes extinct. We are attracted to the highest point of the island, reached with off-road vehicles. With the promise of a breathtaking view, we hit the road and are excited about what awaits us. We are not disappointed. But now we are on the way to the most extreme west point of the island, ingeniously called West Point. The vegetation here is rather sparse due to the uninterrupted strong north wind. The strong wind and currents make the beaches on this part of the coast practically inaccessible, but there is still one beautiful protected beach. After driving along the road parallel to the coast, we arrive at Landhouse Santa Marta, which was renovated some years ago. There is a museum, and the landhouse can be rented for weddings and baptisms. The bridal couple may also spend their honeymoon here. But there is also something else that makes Santa Marta a very special place. It is a sheltered workshop. Handicapped people work here in a peaceful atmosphere, which is not always found in many similar establishments in Europe. You may go for a walk at the premises and buy the artifacts made there, or just enjoy the animals in their natural environment. San Nicolas is another private landhouse within the range of vision of Santa Marta. Large tourism projects are planned for the future. We arrive now at the Sunset Waters Hotel, which lies on a beautiful swimming beach. There are more than 30 recreational beaches at the south coast of the island, mostly child-friendly, with a safe shallow area since there are no dangerous currents. We set the sails as we are not here to sunbathe. We want to enjoy a sailing tour. The Charmirza offers sailing trips along the coast to West Point and back. Unfortunately, the weather today isn't optimal. We were expecting bright sunshine, but it's cloudy. The sun finally shows its face as we arrive in West Point. Bad weather in Curaçao doesn't mean bad luck because it doesn't last very long. The water temperature is always usually between 80 to 85 degrees, and the average air temperature is usually between 85 and 90 degrees. It's a pity, though, today is one of those rare 80-degree days. Yet there is the compensation of sailing so close to the coast and enjoying the extraordinary sights. The next day, we visit the landhouse Curaçao, a few kilometers east of Sunset Waters, an interesting investment property. The beach at Curaçao is one of the most beautiful of the island. The sea is calm, and you can swim and snorkel without fear. Like most of the beaches in Curaçao, it's not crowded, even during the high season. For those who fall in love with Curaçao and dream of staying forever, there are a number of possibilities. Anyone who is over 50 years old and has a sufficient income in another country and can afford to buy a house or apartment is allowed to immigrate. Many have already done it. They pay 10% taxes in Curaçao, and thanks to an agreement with the European Union, do not need to pay any additional taxes in their country of origin. The entrance to the beach of Porto Marie is not far away from the district of St. Willibroders, where an imposing church that you can see from the distance guides you to the right way. This plantation is the life work of two men, Harry Prins and Jack Sheepbauer. Their wish was to make Porto Marie a place which could combine ecology and tourism. Unfortunately, fate has not allowed both men to experience their dream. Porto Marie is a beautiful beach and very popular with divers. Divers can swim directly from the beach to the reefs without needing a boat, which naturally saves a lot of money. This situation is also found at many other diving spots, making Curaçao a low-priced diver's paradise, just a 9-hour flight from Europe and 3 hours from the US. Now we must return to Willemstad, as something very important is happening today. It has been floating for some months in the docks and has been completely restored. Today, it will be inaugurated. The Emma Bridge. It is a magic moment for Willemstad. Finally, the time has come. The Emma Bridge, the old swinging lady, as she is affectionately known, is swinging again. This pedestrian link between Punda and Outrbanda is once again in its original place. As soon as it closes, the politicians come from the left and the governor from the right, meeting in the middle for a historical handshake. And then the celebrations begin. The next morning, the bridge is in full operation. The Emma Bridge is a pontoon bridge over the Santa Ana Bay. If a ship wants to enter the bay, the bridge opens and is driven from Punda to Outrbanda via a hydraulic system. After the ship crosses the way, it is closed again. Of course, there is another use for the bridge. There is no better place in Willemstad for a chat without being disturbed. No, we haven't landed by mistake in Rio de Janeiro. Curaçao also knows how to celebrate Carnival. Preparations take place the whole year rehearsing for this big day. So if you have the possibility of spending your holidays here during this time, you should. The whole island celebrates outdoors with dancing and music until the early morning hours. An unforgettable experience. Even as a visitor, you'll be received with open arms and don't have to worry about your safety. Curaçao is a very safe holiday choice, also during Carnival, unlike many other Caribbean islands. The criminality is low, tourists can leave their hotels and explore the island safely. Also, during Carnival, you can experience the joy of life and cordiality of the people of Curaçao. The island, however, has much more to offer besides beaches, carnival, and sun. One of the main attractions is southeast of Willemstad, in a little self-made bay, where you'll discover discos, bars, and nightlife until the small hours. It's not the hotels, restaurants, and diving schools that attract people here, though. Many people come to this bay for the many animals they can see at the Sea Aquarium. Dolphins are the main attraction. The daily show can be appreciated by the young and the young at heart. Of course, keeping dolphins in captivity is often criticized by animal rights activists. The dolphins at the Sea Aquarium, though, are given the opportunity of swimming regularly in high seas outside of the artificial reef, without fences or walls, followed by employees in a boat. The dolphins never swim away. They always come back voluntarily. Visitors can also experience diving with the animals in their natural environment. For many, the most extraordinary experience in their lives. Different species of sea turtles swim peacefully in one of the neighboring pools. Pelicans and frigate birds try to get their part of the meal during the feeding of the sea turtles. They are not at all shy, since they would never get food so easily anywhere else. Even the bubblefish seem to be interested in getting their part of the prey, and also the sharks in the sea turtles' pool. The main building of the Sea Aquarium is built in the form of a circle. In the middle, you find the open-air enclosure for the flamingos. These birds can also be observed living in the wild in various locations around the island. Lucky and patient snorkelers and divers can get acquainted with stingrays, as well as many other species of Curaçao's underwater world, before meeting them face to face in the open sea. And this is not all the sea aquarium has to offer. There is still the sea lion training, snorkeling and diving with stingrays and dolphins, and shark feeding for the most courageous visitors. The beaches at the sea aquarium are also the favorite place for different events, much to the amusement of islanders. The comic character Asterix used to say, "The Romans are crazy, but here we are tempted to say, the Dutch are crazy." On land, the sea, and the air is a spectacle that entertains its audience every year. It can be compared to a soapbox derby, the only difference being that it takes place on the water. Homemade, let's say, boat-like constructions slip down the ramp and fall into the water. The crew has to swim to the bell and ring it. The winner is the team able to make it within the shortest time.
Ja, daar gaat hij. Oké, wat blijft er dan hangen? Ja, dat is die boven weer, hè? Oké. Ah, jammer. Nou, hij heeft het daar hartstikke mooi gedaan. Oh, daar laten we dan gaan, hè?
Fantastisch. Ik weet niet meer wat het geweest was. Lift of Boogie of zo. Of was dat niet de game?
Now we are looking for some action. We book a tour with the Bounty. Of course, this isn't the Bounty whose cannonball is still today trapped in the outer walls of the fort church. Anyway, although it is much smaller than the true Bounty, it is still a nice ship. We begin the tour at Spanish Water. Here, we find a taste of Africa in the Caribbean at the Ostrich Farm, where visitors are attracted by authentic arts and crafts from the Dark Continent, as well as a safari tour to the biggest birds in the world. The characteristics of the ostrich can be told in a very short time. A long neck, a little brain, and definitely not a pet. It can slash a person from tip to toe with a kick. Ostrich meat is very delicious and practically cholesterol-free. Its feathers are used in the fashion industry, and practically almost everything of this bird can be utilized. It is an adaptive and frugal animal, easy to breed, and spread all over the world as an alternative meat provider. There is a stimulus which makes the tiny ostrich brain react immediately. Food. Since they are eagerly anticipating being fed, each one of us has to show how brave we can be, especially as we know how stupid and dangerous these animals actually are. But at least the ostrich warns us in an impressive way before attacking.
It's warning you that you're too close.
Okay.
An ostrich egg is a wonder of nature. It's not at all easy for the young birds to break the eggshell. They may need a long time. After a day of long, hard work, they finally break through. Curaçao's flag is one of the world's most beautiful. The two little stars have a meaning and are not just an adornment. One represents Curaçao, the other symbolizes Klein Curaçao, a little island just east of the main island, where we are now heading. We take off early in the morning on board the Mermaid and get to the open waters by passing along Barber Beach. We pass a large area while motoring by the southeast coast where visitors are not allowed as it is private property. After 2 hours of motoring, we spot land in sight. We have arrived at Klein Curaçao.
Bye-bye.
Many people probably dream of a South Sea island like this. Today, we have the island all to ourselves. Curaçao can be visited during the entire year. The temperature is practically always pleasant, and the island is situated outside the hurricane belt. There are no reports of shark attacks, a fear of many tourists in these waters. Also, there are no poisonous animals like snakes or dangerous animals. You can visit every spot on both islands without fear, including the old lighthouse, which is long out of operation, as well as a wreck which lies along the east coast. Needless to say, you will enjoy a delicious meal on this tour. We take our time tasting the flavors and have fun observing other interested parties for the leftovers. Little lizards and hermit crabs.
Bye-bye.
It is sadly time to leave. All dreams must eventually end. We say farewell to Klein Curaçao. Dolphins join us on the final part of our return trip. And so do the fishermen boats sailing back from a day of fishing on the open sea. Will it be the same for us as all other tourists? We are returned to our boat and Curaçao, the friendly island, which will merely remain as a memory of the beautiful times we have experienced. The ship leaves, without us on board. We have just decided to stay here and to make this film for you.